Louder with Crowder Studios, protected exclusively by Walther.
And Hopper.
Now sit back and I'm going to tell you a story. But I'll be honest, it doesn't have a happy ending. In fact, it doesn't have an ending at all. Since 2015, this story has included over 3 million victims. Some of them you may know personally. Some of them you've never heard of. See, YouTube never thought of Mug Club as any kind of a threat. Here in Silicon Valley, we thought that a few 100,000 subscribers wouldn't amount to anything. Certainly not something to worry about. But after deplatforming Alex Jones and Gavin McInnes as the club grew, the powers that be knew we had a problem. With over 5,000 people a day subscribing to the channel and thousands of new Mug Club members joining each month, to say that Mug Club had become a bona fide show would be the understatement of the year. We had no idea how so many mugs were being transported right under our noses. That is until we found Blacko Mugscobar. See, YouTube always thought that Mug Club would be paywall content, a problem that would solve itself once everyone got off the platform. But Blacko Mugscobar had other plans. Mugscobar was organized, with contacts all over the intellectual dark web and members with eyes and ears everywhere. He even hired a cutthroat half-Asian lawyer. Demonetization and hard strikes didn't even seem to make a dent. And by 2019, the elites in Silicon Valley knew they had a real problem.
Soy el fuego que arde tu piel, soy el agua que mata tu sed, el castillo, la torre, yo soy la espada que guarda el caudal, tú el aire que respiro yo, y la luz de la luna en el mar, la garganta que ansío mojar, que temo ahogar de amor. Y cuáles deseos me vas a dar, oh, dices tú, mi tesoro, basta con mirarlo, y tuyo será, y tuyo será.
¿Sabes? Y el que apoya el mal es el mal. Solo quiero que les veas el rostro. Míralos, a los miembros del SPLC. Han ayudado a miles de víctimas de las palabras de Mug Club. Solo queremos que nos entregues al negrito, a Blacko Mugscobar. Si no, ellos te van a mostrar la venganza de la justicia social.
Hágale pues, hijo de putas.
Está bien. Vamos a ver cómo te sientes después de que te toteen bien duro.
¡Ey! ¡Hijo de putas! ¡Tu madre es putas!
Lo tienen que terminar así. No den papaya y paren con las palabras de odio. Los chistes de mamar gallo. Solo dinos, ¿dónde está Mugscobar?
No. Nosotros somos Mug Club. No los mariconas YouTube heroes. ¡Hijo de putas!
That's if I were speed bagging, but like a speed bag that was moving on one of those things in the railway. But if it were, what are those things called? I always forget the name.
The push cart.
No, is that what they're called?
It's a push cart. Yeah, I think
a push cart on a railroad.
Push cart.
I say we call them the things.
Fact, is that what you call it? It's the thing that goes by when Boris and Natasha have someone tied to the train tracks, and then clearly gay Deadly Do-Right comes in and says, "I'm not a homo." But hey, we have Anthony Cumia on the show. Very excited. We're going to be talking about the government shutdown. We had 2 Change My Mind installments this week. You're welcome. We have more super videos coming up, more long-form interviews coming up. We're really excited about the direction of the show. Before we move on, question of the day: have you personally, or how have you felt the effects from the government shutdown? Or would you say it's just exposed how little of an impact federal government has in most, if not all, of our lives? Genuinely, I'm interested because the media tells us it's this disaster. Let me know below. I want to hear from you. Hey, in third chair today, we have Brodigan. McBrody, how are you?
Good. I'm really excited for Anthony Cumia because I kind of grew up with him in New York.
That's true, because you had horrible parents. Quarter Black Garrett is here. Let him know. Too Cute Maddie with overlay. She makes me sick. And what's the wine of the day, G. Morgan Jr.?
We have a little bit of Morlaix Pinot Noir.
Morlaix, which is what you always demand at the Motel 6 with Carl. Morlaix!
Stop it. Carl's a nice guy.
Yes. So we're going to be talking about the government shutdown, getting through the top 5 myths, actually, the top lies that you've heard from the media. Before that, of course, leading the news is that Nancy Pelosi has canceled the State of the Union, and our president quickly responded in classic fashion.
The State of the Union speech has been canceled by Nancy Pelosi because she doesn't want to hear the truth. She doesn't want the American public to hear what's going on. And she's afraid of the truth.
She's afraid of hearing my address because she's an old filthy bitch. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, frankly, I would never say that. They tell me, why don't you call her a dirty old bitch? I'd say, I would never say that. That's what they tell me.
So the bickering now has been going on back and forth for 30-something days. Currently, let's wrap this up for you. Currently, President Trump is offering a DACA extension for the $5 or so billion in wall funding, while the Democrats want to reopen the government before negotiating at all. It doesn't seem as if either side is going to come to an agreement anytime soon. As a precautionary measure, in the interim, however, Border Patrol did blow up this caravan. Oh, poor man.
Oh my gosh. Seems like a reasonable,
we forgot about the caravans.
Yes.
We did. That's because we don't do cable news. It would be in a chyron all the 24/7.
Here's the thing. We forgot. Trump never does.
Trump never does.
No.
By the way, listen, who cares about the... I'm going to deliver... You know what I'm going to deliver by state? Huh? In a caravan.
You know what I particularly...
In a Dodge frickin' caravan, just to piss her off. Because I know she's a Chevy bitch, right? Am I right?
Chevys. Oh my gosh.
In murder news... The New York State Senate just passed a bill legalizing abortions up to birth. I know what you're saying. How are you going to make this funny? Not very well. The bill actually restricts late-term abortions, adding a broad health exception for abortions after 24 weeks up to 9 months of pregnancy for, quote, age, economic, social, and emotional factors. Not to be outdone, 2020 candidate Kirsten Gillebrand pledged to make abortion legal up until and including the 9th trimester. So we are,
I hate her so much.
Really?
She's a less authentic, more heavily scripted Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
And a blithering moron.
No, well, it seems as though the second
we could use a lot less Hillary Clintons in the political world right now. And one of the things that actually, I guess...
I disagree. I want to see as many Hillary Clintons as humanly possible.
No, I get it.
We have a job to do.
I can't take it, all right? You have to listen to enough of this crap already.
That's
with one
the point.
Of them.
You don't have to take it. They always lose, but you had a point.
Jeez. One of the things that pissed me off the most, they lit up, what is it, One World Trade Center?
No, the Empire State Building.
No, it was One World Trade Center, I think.
You're
wrong, sir.
I'm from New York.
It's pink,
the Empire State
and it's
Building.
One World Trade Center.
All right, tweet
one of
us,
the buildings,
let us know.
It was pink on the top to celebrate this. I was like, are you serious? Like, I understand if you come down on the other side of this argument, but to celebrate it like that so openly when at least half of the population believes you're killing a child,
right?
Like, that's scary. Incredible.
I mean,
scary.
They celebrate.
To be fair, though, it's Andrew Cuomo wants to run for president, and he knows what his base is.
Yeah. Pink on one tower, and to celebrate the abortion law, they just broadcast in a large-size projection screen machete on the other side. Danny Trejo is a supporter of this law. If that last story, by the way, didn't make you stabby enough, X-Men director. This has been going around the news sites all week. Bryan Singer is now facing new allegations, surprise, of sex with underage boys. This comes from Mediaite. An extensive investigation into the director found 4 boys, a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old, and a 17 or 18-year-old at this point, who's to tell?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who describe experiences ranging from misconduct, and as seen as in the latest, I think, Access Entertainment special, all the way up to rape.
While many were initially uncomfortable with the approaches, it was only discovered to be sexual assault when they realized his name was Bryan Singer. Singer defended himself in a statement released earlier today, claiming, "None of my partners were underage. They were all, quote, just right." The sexual misconduct allegations ranged from uncomfortable to outright sexual assault, according to an anonymous source who spoke with Entertainment Access, who's definitely not Terry Crews.
He plowed me! He looks old. I don't think he's a 17-year-old.
No. I just like
Iffy.
Bryan Singer needs to spend some more time in the X-Men Danger Room. If by Danger Room we mean the prison shower.
Yes, exactly.
That would be a very
Xavier
good
just has a
reference.
head reading device.
Right.
I sense he's being raped, pretty much.
They're running a train on him. I heard this on TV.
You didn't even have the helmet on. I can hear it from the next room.
Yeah. And I think I've talked about this before, it's shocked and yet not surprised. Hollywood has been spewing out like some of the most degrading, terrible stuff for decades, and we're surprised that the people that were doing that are now doing those things in real life.
I watched Black Panther.
I don't think we're
Right there.
surprised. We just wanted an excuse to, make some
Well,
rape
every time
jokes.
it comes on, it seems like they're surprised that
Moving
not
on,
one of ours.
elsewhere in America, commonly referred to as Missouri. Too cute Maddie knows that. She makes moonshine and meth, by the way. Police raided a home for meth, where they also found a dead bald eagle.
Oh my
This from
gosh.
Huffington Post. The dead bald eagle was found in a freezer in one of the homes, though it's unknown how the dead eagle came to roost there, as the suspect was not home during the search. Saddest of all, we may never actually know what the most patriotic rotisserie actually tastes like.
It was a sacred bird.
You see, I would have gone with beer can bald eagle.
Beer can bald eagle?
Shove a beer can,
Yeah.
put on the smoker 4 hours over hickory chips.
Is it?
Based
just
on
like a
barbecue sauce?
in the cartoons, were they putting an apple in the mouth on the spit, or was
Yes.
it a tomato?
It was an apple.
was
I
an
thought it
apple.
was an apple.
Was
I
it
don't
an
know why
apple?
it would be an apple with a pig, though. It doesn't make any sense.
Have you ever put an apple in
Apple goes
a
good
pig's
with
mouth?
pork.
Yeah, but have you actually put it in a mouth of a pig? Like I see people all the time. I have
Well, you
friends
know-
who do wild boar hunts, and they
Yeah.
come back.
Well,
They've
yeah,
never
well,
once
yeah.
placed an apple in it.
Yeah, if you're doing a whole
I've seen
hog
it.
roast, it is common to put an apple in the mouth.
Really?
I think it's just degrading to the hog, but here's the thing. It's already dead. Maybe it doesn't care. I
You
don't
want
know.
to rub salt in the wound? Even better.
Well, no,
Let's stick an apple in his mouth.
Make him look like a jackass.
Degrading to the hog is actually a couple hours after you eat it.
What?
But I'm bummed.
Wait, hold on a second. Was that a David Hogg joke? I'm confused.
Oh,
You're
no,
about
no,
to
very well
say
be.
something.
So,
It was a poop joke.
They go in for 50. Like, I don't understand. There's 58 grams of meth here. There's stolen things. There's a gun. There's a trailer, a horse trailer that this guy stole. And they're like, the lead is the bald eagle. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but like within the last couple of hours or so, HuffPo's opinion column, their entire opinion staff fired.
Yeah. Hey, no, what's most interesting to me is they didn't know the details because the suspect was not home during the search. Wait! This whole article, by the way, go read it. They're like, he wasn't home during this.
have no idea.
Wait. What happened? You found all this drug paraphernalia, weapons, and a dead bald eagle? What? He wasn't home. Wait!
He'll come
Just
back.
5 minutes! There's meth
Oh, man,
there!
it's 5 minutes. I
he
gotta get out of
wants
here.
it!
He doesn't get too far away from his meth. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
And also, the meth capital of the world, is that Missouri or Missouri?
I have no idea.
wow.
Depends if the girl from that show Ozarks is pronouncing it, in which case she just electrocutes you on a dock. Finally, in international news, last story before we get to the top myths of the government shutdown, a man injected himself. Yeah, okay, if you have kids in the room, this is a true story. So, a man injected himself with his own semen to treat back pain. According to the Irish Examiner, the man had a history of chronic
work?
pain and subsequently admitted he had been injecting himself with his own stuff for a year and a half. As an innovative, he described it as innovative. That's what I love about this article.
Yes,
Listen,
exactly.
Innovative.
I don't care what you think. I'm breaking new ground here, okay? Listen, no one thought of this. I guarantee you, no one thought of taking their own and putting it in disc C4, C5. It works horribly, but it's mighty creative. The man in question claimed, actually, though, that he doesn't regret the decision, though in retrospect, he would have better prepared for his, quote, back baby. Yeah, it seems like he could have actually done. You get out of there, Gillebrand! You get out of there! Back babies are sacred! I do not want to see her
Precious.
Like, here's what I don't understand,
Oh my
because
gosh.
I'm starting to deal with some chronic pain, and we talk about the different, like, ouchies
Right.
as they go by. Diet, exercise, stretching, yoga. How do you skip all those things and go right to shooting yourself up with your own
Where is that the idea?
Listen, no, listen. I know you want to make a mockery of it, okay? But have you tried it? Have any of you actually tried it?
This man, he
There
did
you
it.
go. Let's okay. He who has not tried it cast the first semen syringe, 31 gauge syringe. Okay, I just wanted to pick a phrase that had as many S's as possible. I don't know what they're doing there.
Well,
I honestly.
He had an idea, right? Somebody had an idea, right? But here's the thing. He went to the hospital because he was having some back pain issues still, and he was injecting it in his arm. He wasn't even injecting it in his back.
It's almost like it does nothing. I'm possibly worse.
He was having a rash and an infection from it, and he declined any treatments for it.
I mean, to be
And
fair,
now my left delta's pregnant as well.
I mean, to be fair, though, it's Ireland, so they're all usually
true.
drunk.
Right.
It's a terrible stereotype.
It sounded
make
like
that
a good.
joke.
It
Is that
sounded
racist?
like a good idea at the time. I know now that I can see looking back where I might have made some errors.
Yeah.
18 times in a row he made
That
errors.
being said, thank God for socialized healthcare. Only had to wait 12 hours to deliver my back, baby. Hey. All right.
You may want to lay off the proper 12.
Yes, we do want to talk now about government shutdown. So again, how has the government shutdown affected you specifically? Because I noticed there's a big disconnect between how the shutdown has affected actual people versus how the media is portraying it. Everyone I talk to about, we'll talk with Cumia about this, they all say, mostly fine, unless you work for the federal government. I get it. I do have sympathy. I do have empathy for these people. Not all of them. Not the lady at the DMV.
She deserves it, apparently.
Put some context here. We're a month into the longest government shutdown in history. So, what really has been going on? Let's just go through the top 5 lies I think that are important that everyone has been fed and I think they believe. So we've been told, of course, number 5. We're going in descending order here. I don't know.
Okay,
why.
yeah.
That just
We
seems
can
to be pretty
we can work
common
down
on the
to number
internet.
1.
That's like
down.
BuzzFeed. 32 reasons that kittens are great.
Oh, boy.
And we're supposed to believe you on the Russia leaks. So we've been told that Trump's
They're
wall
gone.
request is a non-starter. That's what you've been told because Democrats say that a wall is immoral, as you've seen from Joker Pelosi.
Fact is, a wall is an immorality. It's not who we are as a nation.
Look at the
and this
shaky
is not
hand.
a wall
Yeah.
between Mexico and the United States that the president is creating.
doing sign
here.
language?
It's a
No,
wall between
seriously.
reality and his constituents, his supporters. He does not want them to know what he's doing.
Someone get that broad some levodopa. I think she might. Look at the hands. Like that's
it
not
is
either.
a little
It's
shaky.
Either
or
something's
a
going on.
programming
It's just
upgrade.
from years of disruption, just from years of practicing
She's got
evil and
Tourette's.
being
Tourette's of the
denied
hand.
communion. It could be that, but she's doing this whole business. So what's the truth? Democrats, by the way, a lot of people don't know this. They've repeatedly voted for a wall. A wall nearly identical to the one that President Trump is proposing now.
Yep.
They overwhelmingly voted to build a wall in what year was it?
I think it was 2013.
2000. I think
I can't remember
2006
that
and
far back.
2013.
Yeah.
700 miles of border fencing. If we want to get into fencing versus, well, no, we said fence, and he said wall. Tomato piss off, okay? That's really what we're doing.
But do you ever notice that the non-starter seems to be whatever the Republicans want? Because a couple of years ago, when it was the Republican House, Republican Senate, it's like, well, you can't pass that bill because Barack Obama won't sign it. Like, fine, let him not sign it.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of funny to me. You have to have like a ginormous pair of brass balls in this day and age to lie like that.
Right.
To go out and say that walls are immoral when we have video evidence of you saying this less than 5 years ago.
She doesn't remember that.
Yeah, and guess what?
Schmidio.
Back in 2013, when they voted on it, every single Democrat voted for it, and it was led by none other Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
He was the guy that led the charge.
Well, it's fence and wall. Actually, when we did the Change My Mind, if you go and watch it, almost everybody agrees that we need strong border security.
Yes.
They go, I don't really think a wall would work. And you say, well, what do you think? How about a fence? What?
Well,
what is happening? What about a drone? What about like a chip program that we could inject someone there and somewhere in that serial number would be 666? You know what I'm talking about?
That's a bad deal.
The whole point here is that people don't actually have solutions. Like you said, the non-starter, the non-starter is always what Republicans want. And they try to act as though this is Donald Trump's shutdown. Well, no, he's actually been willing to compromise a whole lot more than the left.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, hold on a second. The wealthy here, if you're wealthy, I'm relatively wealthy, I pay half. And the Republicans say, how about, okay, instead of half, maybe you pay like slightly less than half. Well, it's a non-starter. It's immoral.
Yeah.
Okay? She's doing the two wild and crazy guys thing. It's a non-starter on the wall. So a big line number 4, we've been told, is that Trump's request for the wall, the funding request is too costly.
Right.
Again, you see Pelosi parodying this claim.
The wall is an immorality between countries. It's an old way of thinking. It isn't cost effective.
That being said, a fence is a great investment. Can I interest you in making it a part of your diversified portfolio? Also, lots of botulism. The federal budget, let's try and keep this in context. It's going to be over $4 trillion.
Wow. That's a lot.
So the cause of this shutdown, it's over a dispute between the $1.3 billion that Democrats have agreed to and the $5.7 billion that Donald Trump wants. That's less than 1% of the total federal budget.
Wow. That's insane.
And when you consider that the research shows illegal immigrants cost the U.S. taxpayer, that means you, not all of you, a lot of you are in college. I appreciate your viewership, but you're what we call losers. $116 billion a year.
Wow. That's quite a lot.
$4 billion's not that expensive to fix it. It's really not hard to do that math.
No.
Yeah, and also, if this is too costly, when it comes time to hear about Bernie and Cortez's Green New Deal, okay, if this is too costly, they can take that Green New Deal, shine it up real nice, like turn it sideways and shove it somewhere.
Imagine what that dinner is like. Like global warming, we can't afford it. It's going to kill us in less than 12 years. Good enough for me. It's hard to argue with your logic. I believe it's sound. Yeah. I'll have the lobster roll.
Liberals are also really bad at math, apparently.
Yes.
Because if you're going to tell me that I have to spend $5 or $6 billion, I have $112 billion that I can save every year from here until eternity afterwards for $5 or $6 billion.
Yeah.
That's a great deal. Everybody should be jumping at that
deal. It's like putting
deal.
insulation in your house.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
their sales pitch. It's going to cost you more up front, and then you're going to save money after the first 3 years and every year thereafter. Great. So we can keep out the Honduran caravans. That's what I've been trying to tell you. You just gotta phone the attic. By the way,
do a lot with
hit the notification bell. Let me talk here. Hit the notification bell if you're subscribed, because subscriptions don't really mean a whole lot, and you might not actually see this in your subscription box. Of course, join Mug Club. $99 for everyone who's not a student, veteran, military. You're only $69, and subscribe on iTunes and rate us there because a lot of people are on the road and say, "I wish there were an audio version." If you're Mug Club, you always get audio version. If you're not, you can do iTunes every Thursday. Big myth number 3. This is the big one that everyone has been using to try and lay this at the feet of President Trump and Republicans, that Donald Trump is completely unwilling to compromise.
You call it the Trump shutdown, but I mean, it takes two to tango.
Okay, but this is not a tango. Trump is the only one dancing. And judging from how he moves his hands, he's doing some off-brand version of the Macarena.
And judging by this late night program, whoever's teaching him dancing lessons is the sole writer on your staff. It is amazing.
It's about ready to go off the air. Okay?
This is the point when politics trumps comedy. And people say, well, you kind of do a political show. Listen, if you watch this, we have been brutal on some people on the right. And by the way, this week, I called President Trump a dick.
Yeah.
And he is.
On air.
He can be a dick and be right. But Seth Meyers is incapable of objectively looking at comedy. So here's actually something that people need to know while we're talking about this live. Trump is surprisingly willing to compromise.
Yes.
So he's been proposing extending DACA in exchange for funding for the wall. It's, by the way, not the only time he's been open to negotiating. He surprised a lot of people with his openness to compromise over gun control. By the way, wasn't really happy about that.
A lot of people were not happy about that.
It's not a point in his favor because a lot of his base, they don't want DAC. And I understand when you're talking about extending DAC, this is something that was an executive order when you look at it from Obama. And I understand that because it was an executive order, now we're talking about dealing with this as an executive order thereafter. But I'm not
not a huge fan of it. But that being said, the idea that he's not the one who's willing to compromise couldn't be further from the truth. Democrats are completely failing to meet the guy in any negotiations, right? The media is hell-bent on showing him as this guy who just wants to fund the wall. He's a negotiator. People make fun of him like he thinks he can negotiate everything. Well, it is a challenge to negotiate with Nancy Pelosi. A, because she's a crazy person. B, she's hard of hearing. And C, but no, you know what? Let's not even go to C. How is she speaker? How did this happen?
I know.
It's like, did she hold a small child hostage? Like, ha 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 ha! You knew you'd see me again! It's the reboot! How is she here? No one likes her.
She's the bad villain from that movie you just will never see.
Is there anything else? You look like you're going to... Brodigan's just drunk. All right. The point is, even when he's flexible, as you see right now, the media, they paint him as this completely unbending tyrant. And that's something that I think is really important for people to note. Look at the policies here. Look who's more reasonable. He wants a wall that they already wanted. It's just like a kid. You're doing reverse psychology, only Donald Trump doesn't understand that they will say the opposite of everything he does. Like, he doesn't understand how reverse psychology works. It's like, you want a fence? Uh-huh. Okay, I'll give you a wall. No! What the hell's happening here? You just said you wanted it. I'm terribly confused. No, now I don't want it. Because you want it. They are just spoiled brats.
Well, and every time the left wants to talk about this right now in the media, they say, open up the government and then we will negotiate. That is the dumbest thing that I've heard, because it's a complete lie. If they open up the government, they lose all leverage that they have right now to get them to actually move on something. But it's the Democrats aren't going to bring this up at all, period. Not at all. Done.
It's also the same people that always bring up, well, Ronald Reagan passed immigration law. Like, right, and that's the specific law.
He fell for it, too.
After... he never got the wall, and he never got border security funding that conservatives always point to. See, we tried doing this in the 80s. You screwed us. F you.
And look what happened with Barack Obama. Remember, it was Marco Rubio was kind of the ambassador of that bill. He said, I will sign anything on my desk tomorrow. And there was something, and he didn't.
No.
That's what we call a lie. By the way, here's something else, another lie that you've been told. I think this is the second biggest lie, that there is no actual... This is to try and discredit what Trump says. He's like, there's a crisis at the border. And so what does the media say? No, there is no crisis at the border.
Yes, you can see through these slats to the other side of the U.S.-Mexico border. But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence.
There's a wall.
By the way,
the wall is working.
We've covered how illegal immigrants commit disproportionately more crime. And people try to cite this study. They go, actually, immigrants commit less crime. Well, that study includes legal immigrants, dummy. That's the big bait and switch that nobody talks about. It's really hard to know how much crime is committed by illegal immigrants because they're here illegally. But guess what? Every single crime that's committed by an illegal immigrant is one committed by somebody who had no business being here in the first place. Ergo, we have more crime because they're here, okay? Here's the irony. The same day Acosta posted that clip, right? They found 21 burned corpses in a border town not far from where he did that selfie video.
I'd say that's a problem.
And not to mention, the majority of the people who claim there's no crisis at the border live far away from the border, have no intention of even going into Texas, let alone at the border.
The only way Acosta could have more lack of self-awareness is if while he was filming it, there was a head on a turtle behind him. And even then, he'd be like, look, the wildlife here is threatened. Do you want to disrupt their migratory patterns? I didn't think so.
Oh, my gosh. Well, look, if you truly care about immigrants, right, and you said it just a minute ago, they lump illegal and legal immigrants together. If you truly care about people coming to this country and not being taken advantage of, you do not want them coming here illegally. They don't report crime. They get taken advantage of by everyone. Employers, a lot of times, unscrupulous, will pay them half of what they're supposed to be paid. Who are they going to tell? They're here illegally. They can't go to the authorities. They just get taken advantage of.
That's what I find so funny, by the way, is when these socialists, the Cortezes of the world go, well, hold on a second. These people are willing to do jobs that Americans won't do for far less money. Oh, way to support the giant corporations and screw the working man, dummy. And you wonder why Trump won the Midwest. Because you're sitting there going, look, you stupid Pennsylvanians and Michiganders. These people are picking lettuce. You would never do this, you lazy pieces of shit. Vote Hillary. You couldn't be more out of touch. Okay, when people say, we sat down and changed our mind, they said, well, who does it hurt? Okay, I'll give you a couple of reasons. It hurts the American worker, it hurts the American taxpayer, and it hurts people because there's more crime.
Yeah.
And by the way, it hurts legal immigrants because they're waiting in the queue and it gets longer and longer and longer. So there you go. It's a victimless crime. No, it's not.
Everybody gets hurt.
Agree to disagree. No. And here's the final big myth, of course, and it's not necessarily a myth as far as they've been parroting.
like the others that could be verifiably false statistics. This is, as the girl said, it changed my mind this week, as you saw. They're trying to control the narrative. Her words, not mine. The narrative here is, of course, the shutdown is really about good morality versus racism.
The shutdown is kind of a symptom of something larger. The wall is a campaign promise the president made to play on something very deeply held that his political base
What's
feels.
going on with
and
my
if you
man's
want to
hair?
look for an image that actually speaks to this, it's probably those protesters who were on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, the Native American man who was beating the drum, Nathan Phillips, and those kids in the Make America Great Again hats that were kind of smirking at him.
It's like he said, give me the Mr. T, but not quite.
To me, that is the real image. That is the real emblem of this. This is about xenophobia. For many Americans, this is about race.
How do you go on TV looking like that?
Brodigan, look at me. First thing, he wants to go off because of the bourbon in there. The first thing that we need to address here is they weren't looking down their noses at the Native American.
No.
They were staring into the toothless meth mouth abyss.
Probably getting a contact high.
And it's just so funny. This is emblematic to me of America. That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
The left wants to make you somebody who speaks for everyone else. And if you're not a villain, they're just going to try and vilify you. By the way, it was completely fabricated. Nathan Phillips, because when I think of a Native American elder, I think of a man named Nathan.
Yes.
Phillips.
Phillips, yes, exactly.
That's like the name of a runner-up on American Idol, like Nathan Phillips or on Maury. You are not the father. Oh, drats!
The best runner-up to be.
Sleeping Bear told me a fib. The chanting build the wall never happened. They want so desperately to set this narrative of moral versus evil that they're willing to lie about it. We've already covered that.
Yeah, and one of the things we can, if we take care of this border situation, you can take care of some really bad things, right? He's talking about people being worried about race and being worried about, those things are important, but human trafficking, drugs being imported, gangs, terrorists coming through a border.
Turtles on heads.
None of these. So here's the thing. Canada, none of these things are coming from Canada. If they were, we'd be building a wall there. They're all coming from our southern border. So why in the world are we not doing something to help? And by the way, this is not something where you ask for a show of hands. The average American cannot possibly have enough information to make a very informed opinion about this and say, yes, a wall would work, no, it wouldn't. Ask people in Border Patrol. They say a wall helps.
Right.
Because it helps us find where they're coming, and then it helps our response time because a wall slows them down.
Or ask the mother who had a child who was killed, or a child who was raped on the border. Have you guys been to El Paso? Mm-hmm. Have you been to El Paso? Has anyone been out there? Have you seen the bars on the windows?
Very fast.
It's unbelievable. If you listen, anyway, I don't even want to get into this. It does. Here's the thing. It does beg the question. And we're going to close on this. We have Anthony Cumia coming up after the break. It begs the question, and I don't want to be Jesse Ventura, where all we do is I'm just asking questions, right? Or John Oliver. So let's actually try and get to the root cause of this. When it's less than 1% of the federal budget, and these same Democrats have voted for a wall many times without issue, why? Why are they so suddenly hell-bent on there not being a wall? Why are they willing to shut down the government over it, right? Who are they actually holding hostage? This is important. You. When people say they're holding dreamers hostage, no, who's being held hostage? You. And why? For a voting base. Here's exactly why. The statistics show this. Illegal immigrants, people who come here illegally, favor Democrats time and time again. They receive benefits at a greater rate than native-born populations, okay? And they will continue to vote Democrat because they'll continue to receive those benefits. Yeah. In the past, Democrats always assumed that amnesty was on the table and that there was some kind of flexibility, also that they were winning. Now that they're losing, they're desperate for more voters. This is about bringing in a voting base. It's about people who are here illegally, making sure that they have a path to citizenship so that they can vote, and not closing the border so that more of these people can come in and vote. Overwhelmingly Democrat, overwhelmingly suckle at the government tea. It's just like the kid in the school cafeteria promising that if you vote for him for class president, he's going to give you free ice cream sandwiches. That's it. People think, why is this happening? That's exactly it. They want more people here to vote for them. And they're holding you hostage to make your vote irrelevant for the rest of the United States history. That's what this is about. Bring in people who have no business being here in the first place. I'm not talking about legal immigrants. I think that we've clarified that ad nauseum. Huge difference between legal immigrants and illegal immigrants. Legalize all the people who broke the law to get here and screwed all the people who were in the queue to get here legally.
Legalize all of these folks. Make sure they can vote. By the way, don't close up the holes so that we can ensure more people come in who will vote for us. Promise them free shit and make sure that the people who've been paying taxes for their entire lives, who overwhelmingly vote, by the way, the working class now for Republicans, that their vote doesn't matter anymore. This is all about holding you hostage. Anthony Cumia after the break. There you go. There you go. Not just questions, but some answers.
Truth.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 14 rounds or 15? That's erroneous, as my new all-steel PPQ-5 match has a 17-round magazine, plus one in the chamber. With the best ergonomics in the business, I'm capable of putting a shot right between your eyes at 40 yards away. So you have to ask yourself one question. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? Punk. Louder with Crowder Studios, protected exclusively by Walther. This is Vision Quest with wise elder Nathan Phillips. Me. It is commonly said among the modern man that war is hell, bringing even the strongest to his knees and the brink of exhaustion. So I didn't go. This has been Vision Quest with wise elder Nathan Phillips. Me. Sponsored by Mug Club.
You're an Eminem. There's no point in wondering where your pockets are. Tasting smooth, creamy milk. You're an Eminem. It's alright. There's no sense in wondering where
You know, I'm hearing this song for the first time. Is he saying that you're an Eminem?
Yes, he is.
That doesn't, lyrics have come a long way, I guess. I don't know, along with band names. I heard a band called Dear Tick the other day. At what point do you just say, call us whatever you want? We really have run out of ideas. Our next guest, I'm thrilled to have him on the show. First guest back, Jordan Peterson. We were really happy. Yeah. And we haven't had this man on here in a while. Of course, you know his show on Compound Media, The Anthony Cumia Show. You can follow him on the Twitter at the Cumia, do I have it right? The Cumia Show. I don't know because he's constantly getting banned. His book, apparently, while we were gone, was banned from where was it banned?
I get banned from everything. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but my Compound Media is, and the Cumia Show is. But I don't run those things. I'm not responsible enough to post nice enough things on Twitter, so I'm constantly being banned from social media. Hence the title of the book, Permanently Suspended. Yes.
Okay, that's what I might have had. The book is not actually permanently suspended. This is where the comedy comes into play, correct?
You're right. It's permanently suspended. It's pretty much the story of my early kind of life out in California with my maniacal father, having fun with guns and doom buggies and sex, and then coming out to New York and getting into the broadcasting business up in Boston and back in New York. It's a fun read.
To be clear, you were having fun with your father with guns and dune buggies, but not sex with your father.
No. Although my dad did hook me up with a girl, a 19-year-old girl, when I was 13, and that was I said adios to my virginity back then. In the it was different times in the 70s.
Sounds like the Charmer. Let me. I cannot imagine that at PTA. I found them behind the F block, and they were. Oh yeah, I set that up. You like that? What I did there, huh? So this book came out while we were on hiatus. Tell us a little bit. Well, I know you just mentioned. Is it sort of autobiographical, or is it like Alice Cooper's autobiography, where it's one chapter autobiography, the next chapter golf tips?
Which is really weird. Yeah, no, it's not like that. It's a little autobiographical in that I do cover a little bit of my youth. I don't go through the whole thing, but I cover some things that kind of give a little more insight on why I'm the way I am now. Mm-hmm. Just craving attention and trying to diffuse any uncomfortable situation with humor. That's pretty much what I cover in there. But then most of it is about the Opie and Anthony show and my relationship with Opie, my on-air partner for 20 years, which ended, disastrously in 2014.
I think it would be fair to say that.
Yeah.
But you've done really well for yourself. But I remember when that happened, I was going, man, it was kind of at the beginning. Remember back then, the outrage cycle wasn't the same as it was now. You were kind of one of the first public hangings with that.
Yeah, I really, that's what it was. I didn't expect it to happen. It was, I tweeted something about I was assaulted in Times Square by a woman of color. And I commented about it on Twitter, and I gave a little social commentary about the situation when I also talked about my assault. That got me in trouble with the people at Sirius Satellite Radio, and they fired me for it. Right. So, yeah, it was right at the beginning of this whole outrage thing, this false outrage thing. So, I was one of the early veterans of that, and I was able to build this up from that, starting in my basement with a studio I'd built years prior, because I always loved the medium. I liked being able to have video and show clips and just kind of get on the air on the internet when some news story would happen. And thank God I had that. It was like a lifeboat when I got fired, because when you get fired for things like that, no one wants to touch you. So we started this whole thing, and then it just kind of evolved with other personalities that do shows here that also kind of fit that mold of unhireable, undesirable, whatever it would be.
Well, first off, I think you're the only person to get mugged in Times Square in the last 2 decades. I don't know how that happens right next to the Olive Garden and the Eminem shop. He's walking around the Eminem shop.
I was mugged by Elmo.
Yes, you were mugged by Elmo and the TKTS stand. And I remember when I heard about it, I remember talking with a friend, and they told me this story. I said, wait, you mean like Opie and Anthony? He said, but he's a shock jock. They wouldn't fire him for, what are you talking? I didn't believe it until I read up on the story. So that was early on. It was very surprising. It would be like hearing that Howard Stern had been fired because, he spoke ill of a stripper.
I didn't even tweet anything close to 99% of what I was saying on their airwaves, on satellite radio's airwaves, for a decade. Like go back to some of my shows. Oh my God, I'm a horrible person. And the tweets, there was really nothing. They were very innocent, and like I said, a little too much social commentary, and people didn't want to hear it. And again, that false outrage snowballs once the media gets a hold of it. And, they have the power to put you under.
Again, the book is permanently suspended. It's available on Amazon and wherever a Barnes & Noble still exists. The one near where I live is now a Barnes & Noble cafe, so they don't even sell books. It's like, just at this point, just call it cafe. Just ditch the Barnes and the Nobles at this point. But I think it really is interesting to kind of see the evolution, because I remember satellite radio. They were saying, well, now it's not going to have the commercials. You completely unedited, uncensored. You can say whatever you want. And then sure enough, that's not what happened. That changed. And then people sort of said, well, online, people can do and say whatever they want with podcasts. And now that's not really the case, as you see with deplatforming, with iTunes and with YouTube. So it seems like when people think there's going to be this completely free and open medium, we see this natural evolution. We were just talking about this before the break. Yeah. I think that's why you had the foresight to do a subscription model like we did, as opposed to being on Patreon, where, again, it's supposed to be free and open, and we see that it's not.
I've called it having a piano over your head, strung by a little wire, and that is the powers that be that could cut it at any moment. There's always someone you have to go to deliver your show to the people. Right. There's always some channel. And I love when you hear, well, make your own platform. Do that. Go out on the poles and string your own fiber optic cable and make a cable company. Like there's certain things you just can't independently do. Right. So you have to take as many people out of the mix as possible. So going with a subscriber base worked well for me, because I had already had a very popular show, so I had a base of people that were willing to subscribe. It's not like any Tom, Dick, or Harry can get out there and make a subscriber-based show.
Hey!
But, yes, well,
we're doing all right.
One of the few, the proud.
I think this really is the only show that came up this way, and to your point, we said we're going to use the paywall model. I think now they're calling it over the top. That didn't exist when we started. They're like over the top content. I'm like, are you talking about that? Talking about that shit
arm wrestling movie? What are we? But that's what they call it now, OTT. But this Mug Club for us, we said, we're not going to remove free content. We're going to create more premium content and still use YouTube and social media, granted, for as long as we can before we're banned, to build it up. But you already had a serious following. Man, that show was huge.
Yeah, that was that's why the model worked so well for us. And like I said, take as many people out of the mix. You can be deplatformed. We've seen it happen with Alex Jones and Laura Loomer and stuff. You disappear. Gavin McInnes, who is just an awesome guy, a great friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I love him as a person and as a personality, who was like one of the victims of his own talent. He's one of the greatest satirical comedians I've ever seen. And too many people that get outraged didn't get his joke. Didn't get the joke. He was literally Hitler. And he's like, he comes to parties at my house. He's got his family, his beautiful wife and kids, and he's the nicest guy. And he's painted as literally Hitler because of the bull outrage that goes on now.
Right. Yeah. I still, when people said Gavin got in trouble for his antics, I said, which one? You know, I mean, it's take your pick.
Yeah.
We would get on and do these French Canadian characters, and he would do a Scottish character, and we would. I don't know if he was here in studio. I think I was in New York. It made other people uncomfortable because we were being brutal with each other, and he doesn't break character, and the Jean-Guy Tremblay doesn't break character, and people go, "Oh, is this something we need to separate?" And afterwards, like, no, don't keep rolling. Yeah. That is the show, and he's one of the few people who gets it, and not in a self-important way, like kind of a lot of these sort of Andy Kaufman hipsters. Like, it still has to be funny with Gavin.
Yes, absolutely. Comedy is suffering like I've never seen it suffer before because comedians are petrified to do their act. Mm-hmm. And these social justice warriors, or whatever you want to call them, are out there just looking. They're searching like a German wolf pack of submarines looking for a target to then tape and take out of context and take without the context of comedy and just bury them.
Right.
We see it with Louis C.K. Of course, look, Louis got some sexual proclivities that seem a little odd to some people. I don't care.
Right.
But you cannot deny the guy is funny. These same people that want him crucified were calling him a genius a couple of years ago. And he just wants to get back into the game. Right. There are people that don't want you to have a career. They don't want you to do what you enjoy and are very good at doing because they are outraged at some inane, moronic thing that didn't happen to them.
It's true. It doesn't matter who you are. No one is safe because if there isn't somebody who acts up, maybe in a couple of months they go, what about that kid in the red hat who smiled at the toothless Indian meth head? Can we be mad at him? It's literally a kid. When I watched it, people were praising me for going, you didn't jump the gun, thanks. I said, no, you know why? Because I watched the original clip and I said, who cares? Like, it just doesn't.
Right.
I wasn't on the outrage machine from the right. Some conservatives were like, oh, I can't believe it. No, he wasn't being assaulted. He was sitting there smiling while this guy offbeat, he just came back from his opium quest. And I don't care if I get in trouble. Like, oh, he's a veteran. Apparently, I don't know this for sure. Apparently, he was a refrigerator repairman and he went AWOL twice.
Allegedly.
But, you're right. They are looking just for outrage. Hey, by the way, while we're talking about this, how affected have you been by the government shutdown? We're asking everyone today.
Oh, my goodness. We're on backup power here in New York City. It's like Armageddon. I swear, I don't even have to play video games out there because it's just a post-apocalyptic nightmare out there. Yeah. No, I haven't been affected whatsoever by it. And I know the employees that aren't getting a paycheck, they are affected.
Sure.
If you take the emotion out of it and go pure numbers, the amount of jobs Trump has put back into this country far outweigh the amount of people that are put out of work by the shutdown. That's a math thing, not an emotional thing. So calm the down, because people will be like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the workers.
You know what? I know you do. I'm fine with it. It's one of those things. I'm like, listen, I think it's 800-something thousand. Let's be honest, maybe 400,000. Like, we could probably make them part-time anyway. This is just a good time for not all of them. Anthony didn't say it, by the way. He didn't say it in Times Square. I'm saying it. For me, I really noticed. I felt the sting, and I recognized my privilege when my Amazon Prime order was going to be half a day late, and I was.
Oh my God!
What is happening here? The post office can't pick up the slack.
You look at your phone and go, but you said noon.
This is true. That being said, let's be honest. It is infuriating when you're expecting a package and someone just screws it up with Amazon, and you call them like, well, we can send another one out tomorrow. I needed it for today. It doesn't help.
It really is. I remember when I was growing up, that was way, way back when, kids. When I was growing up, if you got a packet, it was an event at your house.
Right.
If a package showed up. Now on a daily basis, I'm trying to unlock my door, just kicking smiley boxes all over my stoop. Like, what do I need so much stuff for now to be delivered when... You know, it was something I sent from a cereal box when I was a kid. And I'd wait for 6 to 8 weeks for a delivery of a Tony Tiger thing that swam in the bathtub or something. It was a big event. And now on a daily basis, you're greeted at your door by boxes smiling at you.
I blame the recommendations, and especially because we purchase props and wardrobe for the show. We do a lot of sketches. I get recommendations that don't even make sense, and I say, yeah, I need that. That's how my mother ends up with, I swear to you, a purple ball gag in her cart. And she's, wait, this was shipped at my house. Why did that happen, Stephen? She's French Canadian.
There are boxes that just sit on my table or desk and like they're unopened.
Right.
Like, did I really need it if I don't even know what the hell is in it? Everyone has turned into one of those maniacal OCD shopper women.
Right. It's true. Yeah. And you used to just avoid them in the mall when they were walking with the hand weights. Now we are all the mall walkers.
We're all now mall walkers in our own home.
Let me ask you this. We don't have a ton of time. So you do your show. You have Compound Media. You have this book that's out now. How do you balance kind of the work life, personal life, especially as more of a caustic figure, the stress in the job? And you talked about kind of when you were a kid, if you could go back in time and talk to your teenage self, what would you tell him? What would be the single most important piece of advice outside of, listen, there's a government shutdown looming?
Oh, my God. First thing, I would just make sure I get out, buy Amazon. That would be my first thing. AMZN. You'll understand it in the future.
Right.
No, I think... I don't know if I would have any advice. I kind of like the direction my life took. Obviously, I've made some major mistakes before and after getting into broadcasting, but I do kind of like the direction it took. I've always used humor and satire to diffuse situations, so that's worked well for me over the years. The separation of life and this kind of life, people really get this misconception that you're not putting on an act for the most part.
No.
But you're not this person 24 hours a day. You'd burn out in a second, and people would just beat the crap out of you in stores if you were this obnoxious constantly.
I have been beaten up in a store. Thanks for bringing up a sore spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, prime example. But getting the show out of my basement was a good thing. You know, when I'd be sitting on my couch at 11 p.m. and Gavin would come walking up the stairs just completing his show, and we'd talk about stuff at 11 at night. I kind of needed a private life. When the Legion of Skanks, they do their show, they did it from my basement, and they literally brought their Legion of Skanks to my house, like fans, and then they'd be in my pool. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I ought to get a studio in New York City. So we did that. And separating it is kind of easy. I'm constantly on the search for material. I'm always going through social media and news sites and whatnot for the next day's show. But for the most part, I calm down. I play a lot of video games at home. I love, doing that and getting out with friends. We went out last night with the staff here and stuff from Compound and just having a good time. And like blowing off steam is really important in this business.
I agree. And I've been kind of learning that here more recently as I've had to learn to take time for myself. But
there you go.
I will say this. The first time you were on this show, we had Nick DiPaolo on not that long before. And I remember talking about stand-up and the state of stand-up. And I remember Nick and even Jim Norton saying, well, you know what? I understand what you're talking about with the colleges. I don't think it's going to hit the clubs. And all of them now are coming back. You were the only one who said, this is coming everywhere. All of them have since revisited the show, 2-3 years later and said, you guys were right. This is exactly what's happening. There's no safe haven anymore for comedians. Final question. I know you're a gun guy, right? And I know you have a Walther PPK.
Yes. I love the Walther.
Beautiful. Is it a Smith & Wesson licensed Walther PPK? Do you know, or is it Inner Arms?
No, it's not the Smith & Wesson.
Okay, because they licensed it for a while, and I wanted to say this: if you're in New York, I don't know what the laws are. Walther just started actually manufacturing them again in-house.
Awesome.
And they were gone for a while. I have a Smith & Wesson licensed one. I know I'll get in trouble. It jammed all the time, could never use any hollow points. So it might, I know you're a big fan of the firearm. Maybe we can get you one out there in New York. And the fit and finish on it is so much nicer that it's coming out of Walther's actual plant these days.
Let me tell you about New York gun laws.
Yeah.
I think the only way you could get a pistol in New York now is if you're an abortion doctor and want to kill a 9-month-old. That's pretty much the only way they'll allow you to have a gun in New York.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's some leftover people from the SS at Walther, who are still in the back room, who are like, that sounds like a plan. All right, the book is permanently suspended. I want to make sure I got this right. Not to be confused with actually being permanently suspended. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and of course Compound Media. The show, I think, is it 4 to 6 Eastern?
4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time on compoundmedia.com. Yeah, and we got shows all day long. Also, really good, funny personalities, and it's a great, open, free platform where people can actually express themselves.
There are great shows, but of course you are the king over there, and hopefully soon we'll get you in studio. If we can't get the firearm to you in New York, we'll go to the shooting range and we'll do a video on it. I think you're gonna love these new PPKs.
I would love it.
Thank you, Mr. Cumia. We'll be back.
Open your mind. Let us begin our quest to find the new sound.
Where you go for news. The largest online news show in the world. Real talk, real facts. Hosted by Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. The Young Turks. Live on weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're not tuning in, you're missing out. Live Read of the Week time. Always super grateful to our sponsors. Of course, the main way you can support the show is joining at loudwithcrowder.com/mugclub. That's how you prevent the shadow banning, because we don't know when that's going to happen. But we really do have great sponsors with the show, because the products kind of sell themselves. Like Walther Firearms, we just tell you, try it. Go to the range. Let us know what you think. That's how you support us. The most recent, though, I'm excited about is because I actually have been using them for a while, Liberty Health Share. I know a lot of you out there, and we've gotten a few emails about this, think that you can't afford health insurance, especially with the skyrocketing premiums, deductibles after Obamacare. I know that as a business owner, mine shot up. But because Liberty isn't classically an insurance company, they're a health sharing company, you can get unbelievable coverage starting at $199 a month per person. If you go to savewithliberty.com, I should plug them there. My wife and I pay, I think, $299 a month. And for those of you with big families, no matter how big the family, $529 a month. The care is amazing. That's the big difference. My dad went through some serious melanoma, as those of you who submitted jokes to the Great Cancer Joke-Off we hosted on the show might remember. He was in surgery, had Liberty Health Share, the next business day with a doctor of his choosing, and got completely taken care of. And that's the thing, it's a lot more than a bumper sticker. You actually have the liberty of choosing your own doctor, the liberty of choosing your own hospital, the liberty of taking control of your health care, how you need it. Just do me a favor, check out the plans at savewithliberty.com, compare it with what's out there, compare it with what you have, and if it's better, support the show and save yourself some money. Savewithliberty.com. That was the poor shoulder mobility drowning dance for people who,
I can't stop not
who didn't know.
Holding my breath.
I know, people just hold their breath. That's also because you have a lower IQ.
Yeah, that's true.
Unlike myself, I have the best IQ. Frankly, people tell me what a great IQ I have. One thing, thank you so much to Anthony Cumia.
Yeah.
Very glad that he's been on the show. We are going to have, I think on Monday, actually, Abby Johnson, long-form interview, former director of Planned Parenthood. We have Nigel Farage coming up, Daniel Cormier, some big undercover videos. Incredibly grateful. Going to be a good couple of months. So, I want to talk about a couple things here. I think it's important we live in a culture that wants to use this term haters a lot. Oh, he's just a hater. Right? Well, what is a hater? The word's often used like by rap artists or Instagram butt celebrities to simply describe people who disagree with them. But what makes someone, I guess this term a hater, is any critic of you a hater. If you just toss them out as a hater, does that put you in an echo chamber devoid of any truth? And the truth lies somewhere in the middle, and I think it's very important. It's an important tool for people to be able to decipher between valid criticism and hate, particularly in the era of social media. Probably one of the most important tools in the longevity and mental stability toolbox, I would say, in the era of social media. The difference, I would say, between being a hater, and I think this matters to everyone out there, even if you're not somebody who's on social media or doesn't have any level of celebrity, it's important to be able to surround yourself with people who you trust and not dismiss everyone as a hater. Don't just hate that term. They just hate. Well, no, that's not exactly what's going on. The difference between a hater and valid criticism is like most things we discuss on this show. The difference is truth. It's simple, but it's easier simply said in a soundbite than explained. I understand, listen, that rumor mills circulate. For example, let me clarify something. I don't work for Glenn Beck. I have never worked for Glenn Beck. This show is not paid for at all by Glenn Beck. Mug Club is a completely independent entity, okay, which in the spirit of adding more value to you, we allow it to be packaged with more content so that you aren't forcing us to be beholden to Patreon or YouTube. Okay? That's the truth. Hope we've clarified. For people who choose to be upset about something that isn't real, enjoy Colbert, those folks would be haters. Now, if someone would say, and we've received mail to this degree, it says, I really don't like that you do the Change My Mind format instead of a normal show so often these days. I think that's a departure from what you used to do, and I'm not a huge... That's a valid criticism because it's truthful. We do often perform long-form Change My Minds in place of a normal show, which we never used to do. Why? Because we can't do both. And it's a segment that is most requested from you, the fans. But not everyone feels that way. So even there, with completely valid criticism, not a hater at all, it doesn't mean that I have to agree with it. But the person delivering it certainly doesn't need to be dismissed as, yo, just a hater, and then here's my butt twerking. Let me explain to you something else. I really never wanted to have to address this, but some people have asked. Oh, Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin, you know him, you love him, he's been on the show, he's a dear friend of mine. A lot of people have been asking what's going on. I don't know. And let me tell you this. Owen doesn't respond to phone calls from me, from Johnny Boy, a good friend of mine, a good friend of his, Darren, my father, who he is close with and respects. Nothing. We have real concern for him. We love Owen. Some of the greatest times I've had would be me and Owen sitting watching Steven Seagal films riffing. But no calls, no answers to texts that, hey, we're calling, and a voicemail that is permanently full. But then he gets bold and shoots you guys straight on a live stream. And have the call logs to prove it. And by the way, I want to make sure this is really clear. Owen was never let go from this show. Owen could still write for this show, and I love Owen. Owen's a brilliant writer. It has nothing to do with the moon landing being fake, that he believes that, or any other conspiracy that he may or may not believe out there. Some people believe that he believes in conspiracies that he doesn't even believe in, and I don't know exactly. It's that Owen, someone whom I love dearly, in this capacity has been unaccountable. And when anyone would express concern, he would lash out and torch the bridges, including, by the way, with fans. With our fans, arguing with them, upset. I still haven't spoken with him because he has yet to answer any phones or texts trying to reach him. Owen, if you're watching, I love you. Everyone here loves you. But you've actually got to talk with someone to have any understanding as to what's going on here. And guess what? Someone who lashes out like that and leaves a lot of destruction and chaos in their wake, including with the people who love them most, at a certain point, I'll tell you what, this is kind of peeling the curtain back a little bit. I have to protect my people, meaning the rest of the team who make this all possible. Anyone who has an opinion on this topic right now really is simply a hater without any of the facts at their disposal because no one publicly knows them. I don't even know them yet. And I really hope that it's something that can be resolved and not on a YouTube live stream. Now, if someone right now, for example, says, hey man, I don't think you should have spoken about that at all. It seems like airing dirty laundry. That's a valid criticism. And I may even agree with it, because I tend to lean that way. But in this instance, because of the continual requests and calls and trying to reach someone who we love and care about and just breaking our hearts, and because of false information out there, I made a judgment call. Doesn't mean that if you think I'm wrong, that you're incorrect. I don't know. And here's the thing, in this company, Loud Earth Crider Mug Club, this independent company, like in any company, relationships are hard. And it's a late night show, and someone like Johnny Carson never had to deal with the same pressures of you guys seeing every person who worked behind the scenes and seeing every relationship and how long it lasts. We've had, for example, people quit because they were hired at more executive positions elsewhere where they still work, and I've written their letter of recommendation. We've had people who I've had to let go who I've loved, adored, but just weren't able to do the job. And my father can tell you this. Before I had to do it, I looked literally seasick. It was so hard for me to do. It was burdening other workers, though, too much, and a decision just kind of had to be made. And by the way, this person understood it, and we still talk today. We've had people leave on their own, on great terms. We've had people who we've kind of had to walk out the door on great terms. On the flip side, we've also had people leave this company without even honoring 2 weeks' notice and stealing company equipment out the back door. Quarter black?
It was me.
It was you. You know what I'm talking. By the way, company equipment means your Mug Club membership, your dollars that support this show. We've had some people behind the scenes, hand to God, try to sell out information to the Young Turks. The only reason nothing happened is because there was nothing there. And we never told you about it. And beyond this segment, we never will. We're not going to talk about it. Sometimes when these decisions were made, the rumor mill kicked into high gear. Misinformation started swirling. A lot of people who are still left here, they've been standing here and they've been taking some hits. That includes people in this room, and that includes people in the control room who you don't get to see. So what makes someone a hater is when they start delivering blows as punishment for things that you've never actually done. That's something you have to let roll off your back. But you cannot make yourself impervious to criticism. And I've seen people like this in my life. If my wife or someone I trust tells me, hey, listen, Stephen, you've been on a short fuse lately, and you know what? I think you were in the wrong to get so upset back there. Guess what? If I don't listen to that person, I'm failing myself and everyone around who cares about me. He's just a hater. No. Maybe my wife's telling the truth. Maybe I was a dick. I have to be open to that possibility that I could be wrong. If someone you love pulls you aside and tells you that they're worried about you, that you need to get your act together, you better sit your ass down and listen. Knowing the difference between haters and valid criticism is the difference between self-improvement and being a lifelong fool. And you can't even begin to discern the difference between the two if you don't have principles, foundational values, and more importantly, people in your life who keep you accountable. See, we live in a society that wants to just tell us to ignore the haters, and then more butts on Instagram. Just ignore, they're just haters. Why? Because we live in a world that wants to tell you that you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You're not. You're a very flawed human being who is far from perfect, and you will never be perfect. You probably suck. I know I do. But if you want to improve, if you want to even have a hope of becoming a better person tomorrow than you were yesterday, it starts with accountability and the ability to listen to criticism, to process it, to look long and hard at yourself in the mirror, and to use it, no matter how painful that may be. So do me a favor right now. As you're watching this or listening to this, think of someone you trust. Go grab them or call them, sit them down, and demand of them to tell you what you can best improve of yourself. Do it right now. How can you more effectively serve others? Write it down. Is it valid? Is it an area where you could improve? Could you use some help doing it? That's okay too. You can get help. We've talked about men suffering in silence. Men, it's okay for you to ask for help. But do it. Do it immediately. And then the next time someone slings mud your way that you know to be completely untrue, guess what? It won't bother you. You know why? Because you've already broken down your ego and you know that you can receive and process and utilize valid criticism. But you can't know whether it's valid or not until you've incorporated it and processed it continually, day after day. Only after a lifetime. And it requires a lifetime, by the way, of doing this. And I know people who've done the opposite. I know people who've been impervious to criticism their whole life, and I can tell you how it ends. Only after a lifetime of the pride-swallowing siege of doing this day after day, can you actually completely reject the irrelevant haters and sleep at night knowing that you're not a fool? The difference between valid criticism and a hater is said simply, it's not incorporated simply. The difference is truth. All right, we'll see you next week. Hope that helps.
It only takes a time.